Right, Carlton King, former Scotland Yard Special Branch and MI6 officer and the author of Black Ops.
I was undercover for Special Branch in a jihadi organisation.
If you'd like to help Carlton keep producing the Black Spy podcast and receive episodes and information that's only available to Carlton's special Patreon agents, then you can donate as little as £3, €4 or $5 a month by signing up with Patreon. See the Black Spy podcast notes or Google Patreon Black Spy podcast and pledge your monthly amount. You can even win the opportunity to be a guest on the show. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for free.
My name is Carlton King, and welcome to the Black Spy podcast, a show that shines a light on the world of secret intelligence, national security, and armed governmental personal protection operations, but really looks at geopolitics in the round. And actually, for the last 2 weeks, I've looked at something from the perspective of critical thinking, which has been really about what we in the game call psychops, psychological operations, but what's often known as fake news or even history that needs revising or just outright deceit and deception. So that's what's gone for the 2 weeks before. But the interesting point was I was doing that on my lonesome. Now today, I've got back my two favourite ladies. I've got the one and only, are you now a dame? We were a madam last time. Maybe I'll bring you to a dame, Fergus Isaac. And the Doctor needs no other title than Dr. Rachel. Ladies, how are you?
What I love with this threesome is that he's now cheating on me because because I feel like I've been slightly usurped. However, I wanted we had an amazing from the last menage a trois that we did. We had a lovely message on LinkedIn saying I could listen to you guys all day.
Oh, fantastic.
So we could obviously talk all day, but I'm gonna wind this one in. But I say that I personally feel like it's brilliant because we are constantly disrupting the podcast norm. But I think it really works. So I'm glad that listeners are enjoying us disrupting the podcast norm.
Absolutely. Doc, what do you have to say?
Well, I always like disrupting. So, I never want to be following the mainstream because I always find something quite disturbing in that. So I'm really glad too that listeners are enjoying what we bring, because I completely agree. I think that we sort of do well together. We each have our own perspective, and it's good to actually have that discussion. I think it's healthy.
Absolutely. And what I'll do is I'll do what actually Fergus normally does, and I'll actually bring today's talk to something which is right now actual on the cultural landscape. Have any of you two ladies seen Painkiller?
Yes. Oh, please don't get me started on the Sackler family, Carlton.
Right. Okay. Super. Well, I wasn't going to go actually down that ad, but we might go down that ad somewhere. Right. So what we are at now is pharmaceuticals, but we're not going down presently Oxy. What we're looking at is another angle which I'm wondering about, and I'm sure there's a mass of people out there wondering about, what about all of these, what are we going to call them, vitamins that are on sale?
Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is, Carlton. It's 151.9 billion pounds of revenue globally. That's what the vitamin and supplement industry is worth at the moment.
There you go.
So,
Doc, we're in your field. We're going to be asking you both, Rach and I. Rach, do you want to kick off? Because we want to hammer the doctor.
I was going to say before Dr. Rachel kicks off, because I know that because this is very much tapping into her expertise. But one of the things that one of my favourite little sort of starter for 10 anecdotes on this is that the vitamin is that vitamins, or vitamine as it was called in 1912, was a term coined by a Polish biochemist called Casimir Funk. Is that not the best name for a biochemist? But then after that, well, sort of. So it's interesting that that we're only looking at like about 100 years since vitamins have been coined as a term, but Dr. Rachel's going to tell us everything about this, but my understanding is that ancestrally, prehistoric people, or our
greats,
early iterations of mankind, sort of balanced their diet and their vitamin C and all the rest of it, but through wheat and rice and like, I guess, carbs evolving into culture, I guess, was probably the reason why a vitamin imbalance came about in a human body, I suppose.
Well, Fergs, this is the first question. Is there a vitamin imbalance?
Well, I'd say definitely for many people, and this is always really interesting for me. And I don't know whether do you realise that vitamin actually means vital for life, which I think is pretty cool. And I think, if we were living in the best of environments, if we were living in the most healthy of times, then generally we might not need to have sort of this supplementation. We might not need to balance our vitamins and minerals. But we live in such polluted times, and the provenance of most people's diet and nutrition is so poor that the food that they're eating basically doesn't carry all the nutrients that they need that are vital for life. So I hate to champion this extremely exploitive, because that's what it is. Some companies are exploiting this lack or imbalance of vitamins and minerals. But it pretty much is essential for most people. And when I sort of meet people, see people, work with people, it's very apparent to me that most cognitive issues, most people who are having trouble with the executive function in their brain, it pretty much can be sorted out by a healthy dose of iron or vitamin B12. And that's how sort of the lack and deficiency of certain vitamins, it can actually manifest it in quite serious functionality issues for most people. So, yeah, I think that, because of how we live and what we eat, for many people, there is a massive imbalance of vitamins and minerals, essential vitamins and minerals.
I'm going to ask the first question coming off that, and I'll put it over to you, Fergs. So, vitamin B12, how do we get it?
We predominantly get it through animal protein. And there's certain foods that are fortified with B12 now. Quite a lot of cereal. It makes me laugh though. It's like, because quite a lot of the foods that are fortified with different vitamins and minerals are actually partly to the problem of why people have the imbalance in the first place. But B12 generally we get from animal protein, and you can also get it from cow's milk as well.
So you're talking meat.
So sorry, jump in, right? So this guy, that Christian Eichmann, he was called, right? He won the Nobel Prize in 1929 for some research that he did about chickens and rice, right? And he basically he noticed that this control group of chickens were just getting sick, right? And because they were eating the waste product of white rice that was coming out of a factory. And then one day they just ate the normal rice, and he realized that that what's on the grain of the rice that's normally stripped off is actually vitamin B12.
Yeah.
Oh. Right. And so they were getting what is it, berry or something?
Yeah. So it's like a proper deficiency. Yeah. So it's like it really affects the central nervous system. B12 deficiency it especially affects the central nervous system, and also our ability to produce new blood and nerve cells, and even in our DNA replication. You can end up really quite poorly if you are B12 deficient.
Right. So when you say DNA replication, what do you mean, Dr. Rachel?
I mean that, every day our body goes through a different process, and cells divide and they split, and they renew and repair by using the DNA from old cells. And if we do not have enough B12, we're going to get mutations within that DNA replication. So it's not going to, actually replicate it as an exact replica of the the sort of the cell before.
Right. Okay.
I know. It's like this whole new world on a different level, isn't it?
Absolutely. So this guy found this out, B12. So this then brings me to my next question, because you just said, well, so you can clearly have too much of a vitamin, and you can have too little of a vitamin.
Yeah.
So how do we know what is the right amount?
Well, it's like, how do we feel well? How do we function properly? Some of the main issues that people are feeling is, fatigue, tiredness, inability to focus, inability to concentrate, slight breathlessness. Certainly, magnesium deficiency can lead to restless leg syndrome, that kind of thing. But it's generally that we are not able to function as a human being generally is, and the way that people are sort of living in their environment, and sort of the stresses that we're putting on our bodies, people won't generally think that they have a vitamin or mineral deficiency, but I'm not sleeping properly, or I've got too much going on. But for most people, I think a really good starting point, and again, I know we've mentioned this before, is, looking at, food and the provenance of food actually is medicine, and it's preventative medicine. It stops us from getting poorly. It stops us from getting, all sorts of different unwellness and different, conditions.
So for everybody listening to this then, I'm going to keep a sort of a running tally of what we're asking you, both Fergs and I. So I'm coming on to, you've mentioned magnesium. I happen to be holding in my hand magnesium tablets. Right. And what they say take 2 of them. Yeah. Yeah. With plenty of liquid.
Yeah.
Do not exceed the daily dose. And then it's talking about suitable for vegetarians or vegan diet, etc., etc. Now, how do I know that I'm taking the right magnesium? How do I know that's even what it says it is, etc., etc.? This is the sort of questions I have.
Yeah, well, the fact is you don't. So you have to pick your supplier really, really well, and this is where the problem stems within sort of the supplement and vitamin and mineral industry. Is that you have to be really discerning about where you go to, because there are different levels of purity within the vitamin and mineral and supplement industry. So
okay, so I'm just going to jump in here, because it's not regulated though, is it?
Exactly. Exactly.
So you obviously know.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate because we can just ask you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is what we're trying to do, so I guess.
If our listeners want to pop a question to authenticate their own supplements in the chat, I'm sure Dr. Rachel can give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But how do people know? What are there any telltale signs, or are there any watch outs, or what would your guidance be?
Great question.
Yeah, the guidance would be is that look at the information that you're that is alongside whatever you're purchasing, and you can generally see from testimonials how people are reacting and responding to the varying different supplements, and you want people who include the testimonials from people where it hasn't worked as well, where they say, oh, I've took this for a month and it's not working, what a load of rubbish. And then alongside that you'll get, oh, you have to take this for 3 months, it takes 3 months to get into your system and 3 months for you to feel the benefit. And this is the crux of this issue here really with vitamins and minerals, is that for most people this is not an overnight fix, and despite most of the supplements in what you're buying actually being in like a capsule form or a pill form, there's no such thing as a magic pill. So you need to look at the testimonials, and you also need to look at the ingredients. So most of these vitamins and minerals, they don't just come, it's not just magnesium. So, Carlton, if you look on the ingredient label of those, what you are actually handling, you'll be able to see what kind of, I was going to use an unfortunate word there. So what kind of other things that they are actually bulking it out with.
Yes, can see it. I'm looking at it now. Yeah. Calcium carbonate, magnesium saturate, magnesium oxide, Celsius color, hydroproxamine, nifenil, Celsius. There's a whole load of stuff in it. And this is why I spoke, not being funny, about the Sacklers in the beginning. Yeah. Because they were registered. They went to the FDA. It was sorted. They bribed the people. It was sorted out. Yeah. And this stuff was being sold left, right, and centre. Yeah. But it was killing people. Yeah. So how do I know that I'm getting from, I'm not calling Boots down, but I'm getting from Boots here. How do I know this is actually good?
Okay, but calcium carbonate is chalk.
Yeah. So it's a bulking agent. Yeah. And this is the thing. It's like, look at the ingredients. Look at what it's being bulked out with. Look at what.
I don't know what I'm looking for, Dr. Rachel. Yeah. I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm not you. I'm a layman.
Well, pretty much you'll be able to see, so if there's words on there that you don't understand, then please, look them up and see exactly what it is. There'll be a lot of bulking agents, and a lot of what you just read out, they are bulking agents. Right. And you want to see the proportion of it. You want to see, and something, I mean, this is not vitamins and minerals, but this is something that I learned a few years ago because I've had skin cancer, is that if the closer you get to the equation, the sun lotion that you use, you need to make sure that it's not, the first ingredient isn't water, because it's just not strong enough. Gotcha. You need to have something where it's like like an aloe vera or something like that. So, and this is not vitamins and minerals, but this is, you go into your shop and you pick stuff off the shelf. Oh, that says it does this. But is it fit for purpose? Yes. And I know that people don't generally know what they're looking for. And if they're on any kind of social media, they'll get bombarded with all sorts of advertisements, particularly if they look and think, oh God, I'm feeling so much fatigue. What can I do about that? They'll get bombarded with things. And I think something that I would just urge people to do is just look and see what the ingredient list is, and look and see what each of those ingredients is. Now, I use a certain supplier because I use vitamins, minerals, and other supplementations a lot because I have absorption problems in my digestive system, so my body needs a helping hand, but there are other quality companies around, and you have to do your due diligence. For many people, this is not just about buying vitamins and minerals. This is about taking control over your health and well-being. For example, whenever I go into hospital having to have, some sort of treatment, I'm like an allopathic doctor's worst nightmare, because I'm constantly questioning, why do you think I need that? Why do you think that's important? What is it going to do? And again, alluding back to the Sackler situation, I was pretty much astounded and really perplexed that the first roll of call, without finding out what's wrong with you, is to get everybody on pain management. Yeah. I can deal with any kind of pain as long as I know that it's going to come to an end. I don't want to be on any kind of opiate long term, because it's, for one, I'm really sensitive to them and they kill me. Literally I've been resuscitated so many times from doctors giving me morphine when I've not given consent. But also, who wants to live with pain? So I urge everybody, just, look at the ingredients list, start looking at the proportion. If going back to the magnesium, is magnesium the primary ingredient? and how many other ingredients are in that, because the more there are, the less amount of magnesium is going to be part of that tablet.
So when you say there's no such thing as a magic pill, and when we've obviously circled back to talking about what the other ingredients are, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think, Dr. Rachel, about that whole sort of celebrity party trend of vitamin drips then? Is that better?
Well, the whole thing about vitamin drips is you have to remember that most vitamins are water soluble. And what that means is that if your body has, there's an oversupply for most water soluble vitamins which are in those vitamin drips, you're just going to weigh it out. And they're not cheap, are they? They're not a cheap buy, the old vitamin drip. Now, for people who are really depleted in vitamins, and this, you find this out, through blood tests, then having a vitamin drip is a really quick hit of ensuring that, that those vitamins are going straight into the bloodstream. They're going to be, used as nutrients. They're going to feed the organs. But for just the general person who is wanting to use it maybe as sort of a hangover cure, not besmirching anybody, or like you say, it's like some sort of trend, then just know that, if you're taking anything and your body has an oversupply of it, then you're generally just going to it's going to be coming out with the urine. Now, the ones you have to sort of watch out for and ensure that you do not have too much of is sort of like fat soluble vitamins, but generally they're not in any of the vitamin drips, because I suppose nobody wants to be under any kind of scrutiny because of that. So for me, there's also the placebo effect as well, with the vitamin drips. A lot of it is around the sort of the placebo effect, that you're having some sort of intervention, so that naturally is going to give you a bit of a lift anyway.
Am I behind the lines? Just some question on that, folks. Just some question. Am I behind the lines on this vitamin drip? Because I've never heard of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think it's popular in the North, Carlton.
It's like
it's only popular in the Golden Triangle. It's popular in the Golden Triangle, I should imagine.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's all I needed to know.
It's like Rihanna sort of started the trend of it's like young attractive sexy people do it.
That's all I needed.
Right, okay, seeing as we're playing vitamin bingo seemingly, because Carlton's thrown magnesium into the ring, right? I'm gonna have a go now. So when you're pregnant, the NHS sort of insists that you take folic acid, and there's loads and loads of companies that sell you all these pregnancy vitamins and all the rest of it. But the one I want to throw into the ring is omega 3 9, right?
Yeah.
Because NHS and midwife guidance is, oh my God, don't eat any fish. Yeah. But when you look at every Japanese baby that's born, right, well, what else did the mothers eat? And actually there are some studies that are starting to come through now about the links to dementia and and maternal omega 3. So why is fish off the menu when you're pregnant?
Well, I think some of the fish that's off the menu is stuff that traditionally is high in mercury. So and you also have to remember as well is that some of this old advice is old, it's like decades old, and it's almost like the old wives' tale kind of thing. Certainly one of the things that you have to think about the most when you are pregnant is actually the provenance of the food. Again, where's it coming from? Is there anything going to be in there to harm the development of a baby? And as like with the oily fish, it's like, what else is it got within it? What else is it high in it? Now, things like sardines and sort of the oily fish, and particularly wild salmon as opposed to sort of farm salmon, you know, having some of that. And you have to remember as well is that you don't need to have vast amounts of these foods. You just need to have small amounts, because generally vitamins and minerals and how we supplement, they are not large amounts that you have to have. You don't have to have like 200 grams a day. We're talking like, you know, micrograms. So literally just a couple of mouthfuls often contain, you know, all that we need to have. And, you know, and it's, you know, you look at the risk that you're taking, you know, obviously when, you know, you're pregnant, this is, you know, things like, you know, don't eat soft cheese, that kind of thing. And it's because of the fact that it might carry certain bacteria, you know, which can make you really poorly and that kind of thing. And I just think that what most people tend not to do, and especially in this age of so much information that's available, is that they don't do their own research, they don't do their own provenance. And I think we've been pretty much brainwashed into thinking that there are, you know, certain experts that we need to listen to without even questioning when was the last time that expert actually availed themselves of up-to-date research. You know, are they still 30 years ago when they did the training? What has their you know, continual professional development look like? And I think it's really interesting when you think of it in that perspective, is that many people who are experts tend to get quite defensive when people ask questions of their expertise. They don't want to be asked questions of, they just want to dictate. And I think, you know, you have to get a pretty tough skin, and everybody needs to realize that they have every right to question the professional who is telling them what they need to do. You need to ask, you know, why do you suggest that? What's it going to prevent? Is there anything that I can do instead of that? You know, how else can I get these omega oils? Because for me, you know, the lack of omega 3, 6 and 9 in people's diets can lead to so many other issues that then are misdiagnosed as conditions and illnesses that are then given the old pharmaceutical for. And some of these they don't even need it. They just need to have, you know, decent nutrition in everyday eating.
Well, let's call them out. Alzheimer's, dementia, you know, like skin conditions,
ADHD.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know, these are big things.
Yeah.
Can I sing you guys something? Can I sing?
Yeah, of course you can sing.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, listen, guys. Fame time.
I don't know if I'm going to sign off on this. I'm not sure.
Fame time. Whoa, mercy me. Things ain't what they used to be. Where did all the blue skies go? Poison in the wind and blows. Whoa, mercy me. And then he says, this is Marvin Gaye in 1971. He says, things ain't what they used to be. And he then turns around and says, fish in the sea full of mercury. So that might be where your situation is.
Yeah.
When they're saying to you, don't have fish. Because they're saying mercury is being put into the sea and it's gone into the fish.
Well, I know it's big in tuna and shark, the old mercury, definitely. And swordfish as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
So did you like my singing, by the way, guys?
I think that is a podcast first, isn't it? I feel like we should do some clapping, but that is a podcast first.
Well, I want to see what people put in the comments about that, whether they enjoyed the singing as much as they enjoy our discussion.
Whether or not they're more interested in how much mercury is in a fish, or Carlton singing about the mercury in fish.
Well, I told a story from Marvin Gaye. That's all I can say.
But the thing is, right, I'm actually, and even though I know that on this sort of vitamin bingo game, right, it's supposed to be one turn each, but I'm going to be grabby because I'm going to take
grab.
Right, but right, what you were saying about the amount a body can absorb and how much you need and how you need to absorb it, right? I'm going to throw into my go next is I'm going to throw in collagen.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right, because I know because you've told me. Right, so at the moment I get all my collagen through boiling up bones.
Yeah.
Right, but I know this because you've taught me this, right? But collagen powder, collagen tablets, collagen shots, collagen topical products, right? Also we might need to circle back because Carlton's sitting here going, why do we need collagen?
Yes, please do. Fire back. I was going to ask that. You know it. Go on, carry on.
So when you get over 30, Carlton, you need to as a woman you need to stop yourself sagging, right?
Ah.
But collagen's like the magic ingredient. But we've all been sold a dupe for a long time, basically, because really the answer is a lot simpler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, please do explain, because I want ladies to listen to this in particular, obviously guys as well. But I think there's so much out there that they're selling. So I want to know.
I'm just going to pause you there. Okay. Yes. I personally feel like we have an engaged female audience. So whatever. But this is not
is it not unique to women? Is that what you're going to tell me?
Yeah.
This is collagen, I believe, is a unisex topic.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I mean, the interesting thing about collagen is that, I make bone broth all the time, and I do it to help my gut rather than take it for the collagen.
Right, okay.
The collagen is a side effect, and everybody needs collagen because it's a major structural protein that we need, tissues, and it works with other things to help keep skin sort of very elastic and get good volume, put the moisture in it, and it also helps make up proteins that you have within our nails and hair. So it is really, really important, but it's like, again, the collagen industry it's focusing on that pain point for both women and men in that people don't want to be getting old because people who are old are not treated that great by most organizations in society. And people are encouraged to have collagen shots, but there's actually no empirical evidence that is enough to sort of say that having collagen supplementation does what it says it does. And again,
what is it saying it does? Sorry, Dr. Rachel, what is it saying that it's doing?
That it helps with skin renewal. It helps to keep you young looking. It helps to retain the plumpness of skin, and there's like a plethora of other things that you can do to protect your skin that is going to help keep it young. And like I say, I have a lot of collagen just as a byproduct of doing bone broth, and again, I use it to help keep my gut biome healthy, as opposed to wanting it to have a young skin. And I've got a vested interest in keeping my skin looking younger, because my partner is considerably younger than me. But unfortunately, it's not something that has been empirically proven to do it. But because people are so fearful of looking older and having aging skin, it literally is an industry that preys on that with people.
But exactly, and I would say, like, from a media perspective, right, in terms of paid for advertising, like there's so much there's so much fake advertising on the internet at the moment that's connected to collagen products. Where, and it's like, sometimes it's even laughable, it's like, oh, look, Marjorie from Dorset, look, 1 minute she looks 85 and the next minute she looks 18.
Yeah.
It's that bad. But even if you go through a reputable company, I mean, like the price of powdered collagen, the average price is about £35 per kilo.
Yeah.
Right. Which is a heck of a lot, especially when powdered collagen isn't actually that effective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can I just ask you then, why has it become a fad? Did somebody notice that it did do something for them?
Well, no, if you look at the suggestion is, and they'll get all sorts of experts to, talk about collagen, and they'll talk around it. They'll say that collagen is needed to increase volume in the skin and blah, 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 and they'll do all that. But even, but if you ask them directly and say, so does it make skin younger? They can't actually answer that question. But again, it comes back to this fear point, is that people will seize upon it just by virtue. They might have seen some, and this is a thing, they'll have shown some 20-odd-year-old celebrity who has been, paid to do it. And at 20, your skin is going to look young, and you could perhaps trick people into thinking with a before and after just by clever lighting or makeup that somebody's skin does look different. So, and people will want to believe it. They'll want to think that there's this magic beauty pill that's going to, reduce aging in the skin. But it's I don't want to say it's snake oil, because obviously collagen is, it's good for joints, it's good for things that you can't see, so you're not going to, get poorly from having these very expensive collagen supplements, but it's not going to do what you want it to do.
Right. So what you're saying is it'll do one step, but it won't do the next step.
Yeah.
Right.
It won't. Like Fergus said, like an 80-year-old woman cannot in the next picture look like a 40-year-old woman. Right. It's just not going to do that.
But at the same time, I've very much benefited from Dr. Rachel's bone broth prescription, which she can potentially share in the notes of this if anyone else wants to do it, which is essentially free, because you're using the byproducts of what you're cooking for you.
So that was part 1 of this week's Black Spy podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll have part 2 next week.
If you'd like to help Carlton keep producing the Black Spy podcast and receive episodes and information that's only available to Carlton's special Patreon agents, then you can donate as little as £3, €4 or $5 a month by signing up with Patreon. See the Black Spy podcast notes or Google Patreon Black Spy podcast and pledge your monthly amount. You can even win the opportunity to be a guest on the show. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for free.
Here is a working class spy telling his stories, the secrets, the lives of spies. Feel free to message Carlton King on all socials and give this show 5 stars on Apple iTunes and subscribe so you never miss a single episode. For your ears only.
More than a quarter of a century, I was a member of Her Majesty's Secret Intelligence Service.